Let's look at a nice enhancement we've made here to how the details grid works. As you've probably seen in the past, you can establish a date range when you're looking at the details grid, and it'll give you a list of line by part number on invoices, those items that you've sold. And one of the cool things in the grid is that you can grab any one of these columns and drag it to the top, and it'll show you grouped together all the part numbers that you've sold, and even give you some default metrics. It'll, if you scroll down to the bottom, show you the number of times that you've sold it in the range you've selected, the price that was yielded as a result of the sales of those items, and so on, which is really useful. And another neat thing that has always been available is this line at the top that shows you additional metrics. So here we can see for CD204 that it was sold 39 times in that period. Its average price and its average unit price were $321 and $315 respectively. In previous versions, this was hard-coded. You couldn't modify it. Now you can actually change that. You do that by right-clicking on the field you grouped by and choosing the Group Summary Editor. And from here, you can actually, we'll start by removing the metrics that are there by default. And what you'll see here is that now there are no additional metrics on that line. But you can add some. So for example, I might say that I'm interested in particular, when I'm grouping by part number, the number of times that part number was sold. But then I also want to see some information about its selling price total. So here I can see things like the average selling price, for example, which might be useful, or the minimum it was sold for, or the maximum it was sold for. Again, click on that, and that'll show me additional information up in the title line. So the number of times it was sold was 39 times. The average price that it was sold for in total for the invoice was $24.80. The minimum it was sold for was $323, and the maximum was $6,413. So again, that's showing me that I'm selling multiple units, but it's giving me roughly what the average minimum and maximum are of a sale that includes CD204s. So again, very, very useful being able to use that summary editor, and you can essentially use that summary editor on almost any field that's available. You'll see here that all the fields that you can list it on, even fields that aren't necessarily shown in the grid. So for example, if I wanted to see the average current cost when selling that item, I can add that there, and that shows me that the average current cost when selling is $209. So again, useful information in addition to what you would normally see or be able to add into the totals. You can still do the totals down in these areas. For example, if I want counts in any one of these groups, I can do it here, but I also have the access to be able to change information in the header of group columns.